he walked into the casino in a crisp suit, just trying to help his cousin. But when two white guards dragged him out without warning, they had no idea who he was, or who he could call. What happened next turned the entire building upside down. Before we begin the story, write in the comments where you are watching us from. You ever walk into a place and know, you're not welcome before you even breathe? That was me last Friday night. The suit was sharp, the shoes were shining like polished obsidian, and the cologne? Let's just say, I didn't come to blend in. But I wasn't there to gamble, dance, or drink overpriced cocktails. I came to do something far more basic, far more human. I came to protect family. My cousin Ray had slipped away again. Sweet kid. He's on the spectrum, has trouble with loud sounds and flashing lights. But for some reason, he's drawn to them, like a moth to a flame. And where better to get overloaded on both than the most chaotic place in Atlanta, the Golden Stallion Casino. Ray wandered in alone, and he wasn't answering his phone. So I threw on my best suit and got down there quick. Not to make a scene, just to find him, walk him out safe, and maybe get him home in time for those peanut butter sandwiches he loves so much. When I stepped through the revolving door, the cold blast of air conditioning hit me like I owed it money. Inside, the carpet looked like it had survived the 80s, and the machines sang that synthetic siren song, Gambler's Love. I didn't pay attention to any of that. I was scanning for Ray. I hadn't taken 3 steps in when I felt eyes on me. 2 security guards, white, wide, and wearing smug like it was part of their uniform, were already watching me like I just pocketed a chip. The taller one squinted, tilted his head like I was a walking riddle. "Evening, gentlemen," I said calmly, hands visible, smile tight. "My name's Julius Scott. My cousin, young man, black hoodie, glasses, came in a little while ago. He's on the spectrum. I'm here to pick him up. Should be no trouble." What I got in return was a stare so blank it could have been broadcast in black and white. "We don't do babysitting," one finally muttered. "I'm not asking you to," I replied. "I just need to step inside and find him. He doesn't do well in crowds." "Not our problem," the other one cut me off. His arms were already folding like he was ready for a power trip. "Now, look, I've been called articulate, polite, even well-spoken by folks who think that's a compliment. But in that moment, none of it mattered. My suit didn't matter. My calm tone, my respect, my reason for being there. It all vanished in their eyes. I wasn't Julius anymore. I was just a black man standing too confidently in the wrong lobby. "Sir, I'm not causing trouble," I said again, firmer this time. "I just need 5 minutes. I'll be gone before you know it." That's when they stepped forward. "You need to leave," said the taller one, emphasizing the word like I'd broken some sacred rule. "Don't touch me," I warned, raising my hands. But that was an invitation, apparently. Suddenly, I felt a grip on my elbow. Tight, unnecessary, and all too familiar. Next thing I know, they were shoving me back toward the door like I'd stolen something. "No yelling," one whispered close to my ear, like this was some secret we were sharing. The doors opened, and just like that, I was back on the sidewalk, shoved, tossed, dismissed. A woman walking by with a walker actually gasped. A couple waiting for an Uber looked away, like they'd just seen a car crash and didn't want to get involved. I stood there, chest rising, heart pounding, heat crawling up the back of my neck. My jacket was wrinkled. My dignity stepped on. Inside those walls, My cousin was probably sitting near the slots, covering his ears, wondering why nobody was coming for him. And here I was, outside, treated like a trespasser for trying to help. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not new to this game. I've walked a long road through boardrooms and back alleys. I've filed complaints. I've spoken at city council meetings. I've raised my voice and held my tongue more times than I can count. But that night was different. Because that night, I wasn't just angry. I was done. I pulled out my phone with slow, deliberate hands, like it was a holy object. My fingers moved on muscle memory. I scrolled past Mom, Pastor Hill, and my barber to get to a name I hadn't touched in a while. I stared at it, thought about the promise I made to myself years ago. Only call if you got no other choice. Well, it was time. That moment changed everything. You think what happened so far was intense? You haven't seen anything yet. What came next turned the whole place upside down. Now, I didn't make that call out of impulse. I don't do things just to make a point. I made that call because sometimes, when the system shows you its teeth, you gotta remind it you've got sharper ones. The name I tapped on that screen? Special Agent Devin Miles. We go back 20 years. I met him when I was still teaching in South Fulton and helped pull one of his nephews out of a bad crowd. We kept in touch. Not for favors, just mutual respect. The kind that doesn't need small talk. And Devin? He never forgets a debt. The phone didn't ring twice. Julius? Yeah. You good? No. Pause. Where? Golden Stallion Casino. Another pause, longer. I'll call you back in 5. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. I stood outside, pacing slow. People passed by, avoiding my eyes like I had some invisible stain on me. Inside, I could still see those guards, back at their post, like nothing happened. One of them sipped from a styrofoam cup, leaned over the counter, laughed at something on his phone. Probably a meme. Probably didn't think twice about the man they'd just tossed out like trash. And Ray? Still nowhere in sight. 5 minutes later, on the dot, a black SUV pulled up. Tinted windows. Government plates. Now let me say this. I ain't the type to enjoy power trips. But when that door opened and Agent Miles stepped out in his dark blue jacket with the letters on the back, those letters, you could feel the air change. Folks waiting for valet stepped aside. A doorman tried to look busy adjusting potted plants. The manager, who hadn't said a word while I was getting manhandled, suddenly appeared like magic behind the front glass, eyes wide as a deer in headlights. Devin walked over like a man with a purpose. Not fast, not slow. Just steady. Solid. He looked me up and down. You all right? Ask them. I nodded toward the doors. He didn't look. He just nodded once and turned. The moment Devin stepped through those casino doors, it was like Moses parting the Red Sea. The guards straightened up so fast, you'd think someone hit rewind on their spines. One even tried to smile. Poor attempt. Didn't make it halfway up his cheek. Can I help y'all? The taller one asked, voice shaky behind his practiced authority. You can start by explaining why you physically removed a licensed community advocate attempting to assist a family member with a cognitive disability, Devin said, flashing his badge. Now that hit different. The manager shuffled over like his shoes were suddenly too tight. Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't know who he was. Devin didn't blink. Who he is doesn't change what you did. Meanwhile, I stood just outside the doors, not because I had to, but because I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to look straight into the eyes of the man they tossed like he was nobody, and realize just how wrong they'd been. Inside, the scene turned into an unplanned meeting of suits and stammering. The manager started talking about internal policies, about security protocols, about standard procedures. It was a whole TED talk on excuses. Devon cut him off. "Show me the security footage." The air went cold. The shorter guard opened his mouth, closed it. The manager looked like he swallowed a lemon, and just then, like divine timing, Ray appeared from the far side of the room, blinking against the casino lights, hands covering his ears. I stepped forward, and his face lit up. He walked to me fast, stumbling once. I caught him. "You okay?" I asked. "I didn't know where you went," he whispered. "That right there? That broke me a little. Because in all their self-important nonsense, none of them thought to help him, to find out if he needed assistance. They were too busy proving something to a man who never asked for a fight." I walked Ray out, hand on his shoulder, past the guards who now looked like kids caught stealing lunch money, past the manager whose collar seemed suddenly too tight, past every person in that casino who chose silence over decency. And Devon? He stayed behind. I don't know what was said after we left, but when I glanced back, one of the guards wasn't standing at his post anymore. And let's just say, I didn't see him again. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for, right here. But trust me, the final chapter flips it all upside down. Stay with me. You do not want to miss how this ends. You ever feel like the truth walks slow, but when it shows up, it kicks the damn door in? That next morning, I wasn't planning on making noise. I woke up, made my coffee, helped Ray butter his toast the way he likes, corner to corner, no crumbs on the crust. We didn't talk about the casino. Ray doesn't hold on to things the way I do. That's a gift in a world that loves to bruise folks like us. But me? I was still carrying it. Not out of anger, but principle. Because yesterday wasn't about one bad encounter. It was about how easy it still is for a black man to be treated like furniture that doesn't belong in the lobby. And how many people will sip their drinks while it happens. I wasn't going to stay silent, not this time. So I typed up the whole thing. No dramatics, just facts. What happened, what I saw, what they did, and I posted it. Public. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, even the dusty neighborhood email list. I ended it with one line. I came to help my cousin. I left remembering that respect still has color-coded entry. I didn't expect it to catch fire, but it did. Within hours, my phone started buzzing like a cheap motel bed. Old students, neighbors, folks I hadn't spoken to since the Obama years, they all reached out. Messages poured in. "Julius, I'm so sorry this happened. This reminds me of something that happened to my dad in Vegas." "They did what?" "You should sue them. This is exactly why I don't go anywhere alone anymore." And then, the real twist. A local journalist picked it up. Then, a national disability rights group reposted it. Then, God bless the internet, someone found the casino's Yelp page. By lunchtime, Golden Stallion Casino was trending. And not in a way their PR team could spin with champagne and live jazz. I got a call from the casino's corporate office that afternoon. A woman named Deborah, polite and polished, using the kind of voice that smiles through clenched teeth. "Mr. Scott, we deeply regret your experience. We're conducting an internal review." I let her talk. She offered an apology that somehow didn't include the word sorry. Said they'd love to invite me back for a comped dinner and VIP experience. I told her I wasn't hungry. I told her Ray doesn't eat in places where he's made to feel like a problem. I told her the apology wasn't mine to accept. It belonged to every black man they ever profiled by posture and skin tone. Then I hung up. Later that day, a city councilwoman I once worked with called. Said she was introducing a motion for mandatory bias training at all major venues receiving public licensing. Said she read my post 3 times. Funny how quickly doors open when the truth's loud enough. That evening, I took Ray to his favorite spot, an old burger joint on the east side, where the waitress knows his order by heart and calls him baby without a second thought. We sat by the window. The sun was going down slow, and Ray was laughing at something on his phone, probably cat videos again. I watched him for a long moment. No flashing lights, no noise, no fear, peace. But I'd be lying if I said that was the end of it. A week later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a note scribbled in red ink. You made us look bad. Hope you're proud. There was no signature. Just that one sentence, sour and cowardly. And you know what? I was proud. Because that note, that's what change sounds like when it's breaking through concrete. Ugly, bitter, but real. I framed it. Hung it next to the thank you letter Ray wrote me last Christmas, the one with crooked handwriting and peanut butter smudges, because both of them remind me that silence helps no one. Now, I don't walk into rooms hoping to be recognized. I don't ask for applause. I don't even want revenge. I just want what should have been there from the start. Dignity without negotiation. But if speaking up makes people squirm, if holding a mirror to their actions causes discomfort, good. Because maybe next time a man walks into a casino looking for his cousin, they'll see a human being instead of a profile. And maybe next time, someone watching will say something. Do something. Be something more than a witness. Because that echo, the one that shook those velvet walls, that wasn't just me. That was us. Every system cracks the moment it's held accountable. What you just read wasn't a story. It was a wake-up call. And if it shook you even a little, then it did its job.